have a couple of pillows that you can set up like this, and we'll use them for some different poses. I'd like to stay really close to the ground tonight and just keep this practice very slow and meditative. I hope that works for you guys. It's so hot outside here, and I just feel like I really need a low, slow, relaxing, restorative practice. So, when you are ready, hopefully that's now, join me in this comfy, cozy pose. Just lean on back and let your arms just come out to the sides. So let your heart open. Snuggle yourself down. If you have something to prop under your knees, blocks or blankets, if you feel like that would feel good, go ahead and do that. And just totally let go here. And let go of all your cares of this day, anything that has been on your mind, on your heart, and just set them aside for the duration of this practice. They will be here, believe me, when we complete the practice. And then as you arrive on your mat, just let your eyes close. Allow your face to soften. And just allow all the muscles of the body to just soften around the bones. Let the bones be heavy. Yeah. And just notice those places that are supported by the mat. And feel totally supported here as we arrive to Nightcap Yoga, Tuesday, July 28th, I think. What does it matter anymore? Time seems to be a little irrelevant. So once you get here, just take stock of what's going on in your world this evening. Notice the aromas in the air. Notice the light shining in through your eyelids. And notice any sounds in the distance. And notice the sounds that are closer into you. The sounds of your home. The sound of my voice, and the sound of your own breath. And I invite you to take a deeper inhalation, filling up your belly, your ribs, and your lungs. Maybe it's the first deep breath you've taken today. Hopefully not. They're so good for us. And then as you exhale, just deflate. See every exhale as an opportunity to relax a little bit more. Softening those muscles, softening those bones. And take another breath in, fill up a little bit more. Maybe make your breath fill up your entire body from head to toe. Just fill up completely and just pause at the top of that inhalation. And exhale slowly, deeply, completely, letting go. Good. Next breath in fills you up. And your exhalation now, through the nose, make it slower. Slow it down. So we want to make our exhalations a little bit longer than the inhalation, just to make sure we Release all of the stale air, all of the carbon dioxide that we're generating. Just let it go. Send it out to the trees and the plants and the forests. Come back with that oxygen filling up. And then letting go. That symbiotic relationship we have with the plants. So interconnected we are. Let's take a few more breaths here. Softening with each exhalation. Getting more and more in the present moment here. Good. So I've been teaching yoga at this sweetest camp this week. It's called Compassion Camp, and it's a group of kids from ages 3 to I think 10, and they're learning about compassion, and it's the sweetest thing, you guys. I mean, these kids, the ways that they come up with ideas for being compassionate to those we love and those we don't even know are just so sweet and inspiring. So it reminded me that I have this book that I really love called Field of Compassion by Judy Cannato. And it's, she says in the introduction, she says, this is not for the immature. It's for those who are interested in evolving. So surely that's us, right? And she talks about morphogenic fields and physics and how we are so interconnected. And I thought I'd start today's practice with this one segment that I thought was really interesting. She's reading about light, or talking about light, and she says, Gary Schwartz, a psychophysiologist from the University of Arizona, verified that biophoton emissions can pass from organism to organism, that is light, in an experiment with Kathy Creeth, a professor of optical sciences at Arizona. The two researchers used a specialized camera to photograph a light being emitted from a geranium leaf. For the first time, it was possible to see light emanating from a living thing, findings that have been confirmed by other researchers. Next, they photographed the hands of people known as healers. Remarkably, they captured images of waves of light as it flowed from their fingers. Schwartz concluded that the intention of healing creates waves of light that pass from healer to subject. Every last thought appeared to augment or diminish someone else's light. Studies show that setting an intention and sending healing energy has a physical effect on the recipient. When you send an intention, every major physiological system in your body is mirrored in the body of the receiver. In addition, when the energy of two people comes together, the one with the most cohesive quantum waves will often set the tempo for the other. The most ordered brain pattern often prevailed. In other words, when a peaceful person sends calming thoughts, the recipient registers the peace in his or her body in a way that is measurable. So, I don't know about you, but I think that's fascinating. So, we are so interconnected, and compassion is contagious. So, let's take one more breath here in this beautiful pose. And as we exhale, let's compassionately roll ourselves to one side, and we'll come to sit lengthwise on our mat, extending the right leg forward and bringing this left leg to the inside of this right thigh. And then we're going to take our waist and twist just ever so slightly toward this extended leg. And we're going to take a forward fold. So support yourself with any props that might feel good to you. And just come forward, just coming forward easily at first. So you might like a prop underneath this leg, maybe a block or a pillow or a blanket. if you feel like it could use the support. But we're just going to come forward, bringing our nose toward our knee, and our hands can rest wherever they feel comfortable. And we'll be here for a few minutes. So kind of let yourself, your lower back is going to slowly unwind. We'll come back to our slow breaths. So take some deep inhalations and some long, slow exhalations, and just let your lower back kind of get used to this pose. Takes a minute or so to really settle in. So use your breath. Allow your breath to encourage you to soften in this pose. And we'll spend a few moments here just letting ourselves get used to the idea of being still. Filling up that lower back, the middle back, and the upper back and shoulders. And exhaling completely, releasing the breath. Good job, you guys. Keep going. I'll keep track of the time. You keep track of your breath as it moves in and calms the mind, and as it moves out and relaxes the body. Good. Maybe after a while you will want to remove any props. Your left hip may feel a little more open. Really tune in to the body, tune in to your breath, and give yourself what you need, finding that self-compassion first and foremost. So notice what's happening with your neck. Maybe give it a little twirl and then let it soften. Back of the neck, rounding forward, chin coming down toward the chest. Breathing in and breathing out. Nice job. Talking about self-compassion, this yin/restorative practice is one of the most compassionate things we can do for ourselves. So stay with it. Resist the urge to let your attention move to anywhere else besides your breath or your body. Stay with this practice. You can do it. I have faith in you. Hi, Nancy. Nancy's here. Good job. We'll be here for 3 more breaths. Opening that left hip and giving a gentle stretch to the lower back. Focusing on the breath. Just allowing thoughts to float by. Take your deepest breath, filling up. And as you slowly exhale, just take your hands and walk yourself back up. And let that lengthen your spine, restore your spine, and just take some shoulder rolls. We'll roll the shoulders up, back and down a few times. And maybe rotate the neck, turning your head from side to side. And then we'll switch. So extend that left leg long and bring that right leg to the inside of this left thigh, and then prop up yourself as needed. So this right hip might be a little more open than the left, or it might need a little more propping. So figure out what you need, and then we'll just slowly come down, bringing ourselves over this left leg, finding a place where we can softly land and just work with our breath here. So soften the back of the neck, soften the face, and come back to your deep, slow inhalations and exhalations. You might want to swallow in your throat to soften the back of the throat if there's any tension there. Breathing in all the way to the top of the lungs, filling up that back body. Exhaling completely. Good. Deep breath in, long breath out. Good. So one little boy in our compassion camp today said that he was creating a little comic strip and coloring it, and his story that he was creating for himself was if he came upon a person who was blind, he would lend that person his dog, so that if he didn't have a seeing eye dog, he would lend that person his dog for a while and sacrifice his dog. And his mom was funny. She said, well, he wouldn't get anywhere with that dog. He would be lost. It was so cute. But they were very imaginative in the ways they could share their compassion with others. It opened my heart today. It was very sweet. So see if you're holding on to any tension on this side. See if you can soften a little bit more. Deep breaths in. We'll take 3 more together. Nice. And take a full breath in, deep in your breath. And then on your exhale, just take your hands to either side of that leg and walk your way up, coming all the way up. Remove any props and just extend your legs. Roll out your ankles, coming up to a nice tall seat. Let's just take a little counter stretch here. We'll take our hands behind us. I'll move my pillows out of the way. Take your hands behind you and point your fingers toward yourself. Draw your elbows in and just lift yourself up into a reverse plank. Point your toes. Look up at the ceiling. Lift your hips a little bit higher. You got this. And then slowly lower yourself down. Good job. We're going to stay really soft here, bringing our feet in together in Badakanasana or cobbler's pose or butterfly pose. A pose by any other name will smell as sweet. So when you're ready, sit up nice and tall. Take a big breath in. Prop yourself up as needed, so something under each leg might be nice, or maybe you want to see how it feels. And we're just going to come forward, being wary of our lower back, just noticing how it feels. Come forward until you feel that stretch. And then when and if it feels safe, just go ahead and round your shoulders forward. Let your chin come down to your chest. And bow. Just surrender to this pose here. Allowing your inner thighs to open up, your hips to open. Good. Close your eyes. Go yin. Go inside. Filling up with breath. Exhaling deeply. Such good, healthy work for the lungs. Just let that happen. Good. Stay with it. Follow your breath in and out. So there's no doubt that we are in really exceptional times. And I feel like this book is sort of prophetic. And she writes here in chapter 10, the challenge now is to create an entirely new vital revolution that takes the whole of life into its sphere. We have never dared embrace the whole of life in all its awesome beauty. We've been content to perpetuate fragments, invent corners where we feel conceptually secure and emotionally safe. Today, we can no longer go on with this game of fragmentation. Yeah, we are not separate. We can see from this virus that we are more connected than ever. And from other movements, right? It's time to become a whole rather than fragments, which is what we do in yoga on a personal level. And so often the personal, the particular is the universal. So here we are practicing on our mats, changing the world one breath at a time. Let's take a few more breaths here together and I'll just shut up. Except for this, the Dalai Lama says that compassion is the radicalization of our time. So it is a radical movement. But it starts right here, right now. So let's take 3 more breaths together in this beautiful butterfly pose as we open up, making space. And as we let go of old, stale ideas, exhale them out. Good. Take this next inhalation, make it the fullest, and then use your, did I say exhalation? Inhalation. Use your exhalation to bring yourself back up to seated and extend your legs long again. We'll take one more reverse plank because that felt good. So take your hands. You might want to take your palms and face them the opposite way. Depending on how your shoulders are feeling, we can try it. Place your palms on the floor with your fingers facing backwards this time. And then just press in, point your toes, lift your hips, gaze up. Create that reverse plank. Good. And then slowly lower your hips down, shake them out. Rotate your wrists out here, going one way and then the other. Good. Let's take our wrist and point those fingers down, pointing your palms forward, and just stretch out the forearms, and the wrists, and the fingers. Good. And then switch, especially if you're typing, writing books, writing papers. I know Jeanette's here because she sent me a text, so she was probably typing up invoices today, right? Good. Shake that out. We're going to take our right leg and cross it over the left. Try flexing those left toes, draw them in toward you. And a couple choices here. You can take your left arm and wrap it around and give yourself a big hug. Or you can take your left arm to the outside of this right leg, and then take your right hand and prop yourself up. Lift your heart, lift your gaze. Take a big breath in and take your twist. So take that gaze around that right shoulder and look back. And find a place where you can stay for several rounds of breath. We won't stay here quite as long. It's using a little more energetic engagement. So let's be here, present with our breath, and present to this day as it unwinds and the sun goes down. We'll just unwind with it. We want to be twisting from that left rib cage. So we're getting that center of the back, that thoracic spine, twisting, wringing out. So if you take a nice deep inhalation, maybe you lift up a little bit more. Maybe your exhalation will take you on a deeper twist. Maybe you're happy right where you are. We'll be here for about 5 more breaths, so work with the breath. Good job. Maybe close your eyes, or if you have a beautiful view out your window, just have a soft gaze, relaxed face, soft countenance. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Filling up, letting go. Good. Take your last full breath here and let your exhale unwind you. Good. Come back to center. Maybe take some circles with the neck, drawing some circles with your nose right in front of you, going in both directions. Good. And just release that leg long, And we'll just go ahead and take it to the other side, crossing that left leg across, deciding if you want to hug yourself or take that deeper twist. Placing that left hand right behind your bum. Sit up nice and tall on your inhale. And then use your exhalation to twist. So twisting from the right side of the ribs. Just take your time. Let your twist work its way over that left shoulder, slowly with your breath. Inhale, lifting, lengthening, and exhale, twisting. Good. There's a little more energy involved in this pose. So be gentle, be compassionate. Good. You might get a little spinal adjustment with this one. No charge. Good. Today the kids were talking about how it takes courage and bravery to be compassionate sometimes. So if you see, they were talking about if you see somebody who's alone or seems lonely and you don't know them, like a child at lunch who's sitting all by herself, it takes the bravery to go up and say hi, and it was so cute to hear them talk about that. Take another breath in, lift and lengthen, and see what you can do. Maybe the neck will turn a little bit more. We're getting a deep stretch in the neck. Be gentle. But stay committed, right? We can be gentle and committed. Good. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Soften the face, soften the jaw, even if it's challenging. We got this. Nice. On this next breath, fill up completely. Lift and lengthen, and on your exhale, start to unwind. Ooh, yeah. Let that leg go long. Roll out your shoulders. Maybe take your right arm and wrap it around. Just draw that right ear to the right shoulder. Good. And then release that. Take your left arm, draw it over and switch. Just let that right shoulder draw down. Good job. And release that. And then we're going to come to hands and knees. So, tabletop, fingers spread. Knees over hips, you know the drill, tops of the feet on the floor. Let's take a few cat-cows just to work the spine up and down, get the kinks out there, just in case we created any kinks. Good. Moving with the breath, just slow and easy. Good. And then take your knees as wide as your mat. Bring your big toes to touch. We're going to take that right hand, move it forward, about a hand's length, and take this right arm and thread it through and underneath, coming into a thread the needle pose. We're going to take that left arm up, flip the palm, and see if it'll wrap around, maybe finding that right hip crease. And then take your hips and make sure they're square, not tipping over to the left like they probably want to do. And we'll just let this left shoulder open up. And if you have any pain in this right shoulder, you can come into a regular child's pose here. But let's work with opening the shoulders and softening here. Good. Big breaths, deep breaths. Good. Just letting that right side of the forehead rest on the floor. Trying not to put too much pressure on the neck, supporting you with the shoulder and the head equally, as well as the legs. Distributing that weight so all the interconnected parts of the body are helping, contributing to this effort of opening the shoulder. Good. We'll take 3 more breaths here. Good. Now on this next breath, fill up. And let your exhalation release that left arm. You can take it forward and just stretch out that left arm, stretching the fingertips forward. And then take that left hand down to the mat right by your left shoulder and unwind, open up this right arm. Take this right arm and circle it around. And go both directions, bringing some blood flow back into the shoulder. And then go ahead, we'll take that right hand down, bring the knees under the hips again, tabletop. Take a few more cat-cows, just moving the spine forward and back with your breath, inhaling through that cow pose and exhaling through that howling cat shape, pressing the mat away, just making space for the breath. Good. Let's take one more, and then we'll meet in tabletop. Take that right hand forward. Take this left arm, thread it through, come down to that left shoulder, left temple, and then lift that right arm up, flip your palm, and take your bind on this side, keeping those hips nice and square. Maybe take a hold of that hip crease. Maybe your arm won't go just as far on this side. Work with what you got, right? Breath in, breath out. Good. Opening up that shoulder. Beautiful. So it's so much easier to slow down and practice these yin practices with other people. I find sometimes if I try to do it on my own, I will bug out. Or if I'm watching a video, sometimes I will bug out. So we are holding one another accountable. Can we stay here? Can we be with these longer holds? They're so good for us, so restorative. Deepening the breath, lengthening the breath, filling up and letting go. Let's take 3 more together. We've got this. Make this next inhalation full and deep. And on your exhalation, unwind. Take this right hand and press it into the mat. Come back up to table and take some circles with that left arm going in both directions. Good. Work it out, work it out. Just take any movements that might feel good here. So maybe some hip circles, maybe some figure eights. Just work with your back and your hips. And if your knees bother you here, we will be heading into child's pose next. But let's take some movements that feel organically good before we do. Whatever that is for you, just make it your own. And then as you're ready, take your knees wide. And pillows can come in handy here for child's pose because we will be here for a while. So one thing you can do is prop up one or two pillows right in front of you to have a nice soft place to land. Or you can put pillows under your knees or under your hips. If your hips are tight and they just don't want to come down, you can prop yourself up all the way home. Just do what you need to do to make yourself feel good. And so, child's pose should be really nice and comfy. So let's see what we can do. You can turn your head to one side, or you can bring your head completely to the mat. So lots of options here. Make this child's pose your own. And just settle in, and we'll work with the breath here. Take a nice full deep inhalation and then sink your hips back even more. And again, same thing with this pose. If you're in a propped situation and then time goes on and your breath works its magic, you might want to release some of those props and then send your hips back to your heels on their own. It's all you, my friends. Make it your own. It's your practice. Make it nice and comfy and cozy. And deep breaths in. Fill up. And let go. So Judy Cannato says that there are certain attitudes for manifesting a field of compassion. She says the first attitude is spaciousness. The word compassion means literally to suffer from the bowels. The image itself suggests that The image itself suggests not that I have entered into your space, but that I have allowed you to enter my space. This posture essentially says there is space in myself for you. There is a story told about the Hindu mystic Ramakrishna. One day, as he was sitting quietly talking with his disciples, he suddenly fell to the floor and began to cry out in pain. Welts and bruises appeared on his body, and he was clearly in distress. One of his disciples ran out into the street and there found one man beating another. There is space in myself for you. An attitude of spaciousness is a reflection of the holy itself. Last summer, I traveled with friends from Llanaturnam Abbey in the south of Wales through Betsy Coed toward the Snowdon Mountains in the north. I butchered that. I remember clearly the turn onto the road to Llanberis. At the time, we were listening to a recording of the Treorchy male choir. Treorchy male choir. At the moment the mountains opened up to our view, the men's voices rang out the Alleluia from Wagner's Pilgrim's Chorus. I was so overcome by the beauty of the experience that tears began to stream down my face. What I sensed in this moment was the spaciousness of the Holy One, the immensity of God's heart, and the breadth of divine love. This is the spaciousness from which we come, and it is the spaciousness with which we encounter the other. There is space in myself for you. clearly I've never been to any of those places, but there's space in myself for you. And we're creating space here. Let's take a few more breaths together in this child's pose. Deep inhalations, filling up completely. Long, slow exhalations, letting go completely. Good. Nice. On this next breath in, fill up. And on your exhale, just slowly press yourself back up. And come to a seat. Good. We're going to bring our heels up to our close in and hug our knees in and give ourselves a big hug. So sit up nice and tall, lift your gaze, lift your nose toward the ceiling, opening up that throat center. Take a big breath in. And as you exhale, round forward. Good. Take 2 more of those. Inhale, lift up, open that throat. And exhale, round. Maybe even round your back a little bit more. Good. 1 more, big inhale, opens up. And exhale. Round, round, round. Good. Nice job. We're going to come to seat, and we're going to take a crissy-cross of our legs, so taking our feet to the side, coming into this cow face pose. So I've got the left leg on top. It doesn't matter which leg we start with. We're going to do both. And we're going to take our arms out wide, like we're going to give ourselves a big hug, and instead of that, we're just going to take that right arm under the left and come into eagle arms here. Take a big breath in, pressing your arms together, your palms together, lift your elbows and look up. And elbow, exhale, draw your elbows down toward your knees. Good. We'll take 3 of these. Inhale, lift up. Compressing those shoulders, and exhale, round forward, bringing the elbows down to the knees. Good. 1 more, inhale, and exhale. And then release your arms, let them fly, flap your wings, and then take your hands just down to the sides and sit up nice and tall. You can take your hands to your feet. Close your eyes. And if you notice this left hip is coming up a little bit, see if you can maybe remove some hip flesh and come get your bum a little more flat on the mat. Soften the face. Even if your hips are talking to you, soften. Breathing in, breathing out. Only going for some stretching sensation here, no pain. So if you feel pain, back off of this pose. I hear Sophie. She's probably saying, I miss Jeanette. She loves going to visit Jeanette at the office. So you might swallow in your throat again here. Again, if you're letting your thoughts carry you away, come back to this present moment using your breath. We'll take a few more breaths here together. See if you can soften, breathing in and breathing out. Long, slow, deep inhalations, filling up those lungs, oxygenating the whole system, and then let it go. Good. Create that spaciousness. Good. On this next breath in, fill up completely, and then let your exhale unravel this pose, and take your legs forward and just shake them out. Maybe bend your knees, and let's take some windshield washers, going right and left, rinsing them out. And we've got one more side. So let's take the other side. So we'll take the right over the left. Oh yeah, I feel that. One side might be a little more open. You might want to prop up. You can slide something under a hip if there's space, or you can just remove that hip flesh, get yourself settled. And then let your eyes close, open up your arms like you're going to give yourself a big hug, and then slide that left arm over the right. Let's come into eagle arms, pressing our arms into one another, palms into one another, or you can have the backs of the hands pressing into the other. And when you're ready, lift your gaze on your inhale, lift your elbows up, and exhale, round forward, bringing elbows to knee, chin to chest. 2 more. Working with your breath. Good. And as you round forward this next time, lift your gaze, release your arms, open them up, fly them, and then take your hands to your feet. Find stillness here. Bring your awareness to your breath, or your third eye, that space between the eyebrows. Point of focus, allowing us to stay present to sensation in the body, present to this seat, creating space. It's good stuff. Good. And see where your breath will allow you to soften here. Notice if your teeth are connecting. See if you can just let them back off. Say, back off, teeth. Notice if your brow is doing anything. See if it'll soften. Those laugh lines around the eyes, just soften. Nice long deep breaths in, full complete exhalations, letting go. Good. Let's take 3 more here. You guys are doing such a good job. on this next breath. Fill up completely. And allow your exhale to let you release. And we'll take those windshield washers again, gently to the right and left. And we've got time for a couple more of these yummy poses. And I've got one in mind for us. And I hope you enjoy it. It's called frog pose. So this might be something that just will not work for you because of knees. And if that is the case, we will be here for a while. So frog pose looks like this if you want to check it out. So your knees come to the mat, your feet come slightly outside of the mat. And this is where we can use our pillows to give us a really nice soft place to land. And we're just going to come forward. It's a deep hip opener if you haven't noticed. So that's for you if you like that pose. If you are not into that pose at all, I suggest figure 4 on your back. We will eventually make our way to our backs anyway, so you will be there to meet us. So one leg and then the other, and I will cue you if you're not in frog to switch sides, so you will be there about halfway. Okay? All right, so assume the position, come into your frog, and so you want your knees to be wide apart and your feet to be outside somewhat of your knees, and then you will feel that inner thigh stretch, that hip stretch, and just let yourself surrender here. Turn your head to one side, or maybe you'll make a pillow with your hands, and just use your breath to soften in this pose. It's a deep, deep inner thigh stretch. So see if you can find some stillness here. Let your breath be your guide. Really deep breaths here. See if you can soften. Even though this pose can be intense, we can let the breath help us accept and soften to what is. Good. Deep inhalations and long, slow exhalations here. So a second attitude for manifesting this field of compassion would be contemplation. She says contemplation is not a kind of prayer necessarily, but rather an orientation toward life itself. An old definition of contemplation is taking a long, loving look at the real. It involves attending to what is before us, free from inattentional blindness. Contemplation means that we are aware of what is before us, awakened to possibilities that are around us, seeing what we see, hearing what we hear, as if for the first time, fresh, without prejudice. One of my greatest lessons in contemplation came from my younger son, Doug, when he was just a little over a year old. One evening, he came padding into the living room, clad only in a diaper and undershirt, grabbed my hand, and pulled me into the bedroom. He ran over to the window and pointed up. "Moon, moon," he said, "moon." It was a windy night. Clouds covered the moon and then quickly swept away, and Doug thought the moon was playing peekaboo with us. He sat on my lap, then popped up in delight as the silver orb came into sight again. He gasped in disbelief and jumped with delight. For an hour, we watched the spectacle of an autumn sky. In the moment, I realized how long it had been since I had really looked at the moon, how long it had been since I had given a long, loving look at what is real. Grateful for my little son's teaching, I have never forgotten that moment. So if you're in figure 4, go ahead and switch sides. And if you're in frog, you are doing great. Keep breathing here. A contemplative stance is the fruit of meditation. It allows us to live out of the witness, the place where we learn to let our thoughts and feelings pass by, becoming attached to nothing, becoming identified with nothing. The stance is where we are most free, unfettered by fear and unhindered by ego. By allowing us to stand back and see what is real, contemplation helps us to spot our attachments and our illusions, and once we spot them, we can be free from them. In the Hasidic tradition, there is a saying that goes, "Each person is surrounded by a legion of angels proclaiming, 'Behold the image of God.'" Only contemplative seeing can do that kind of beholding. Contemplation allows us to see how connected we are to all that is, and that is the essence of mysticism. Spaciousness, contemplation, but wait, there's more. Take a nice, big, long, deep breath. And on your exhale, slowly come out of your frog or your figure four. Take your props out of the way. And we will come to our backs. We'll meet our friends in figure four, if you are there. Keep your pillows close by, but if you happen to have a block, you can also use a pillow. We're going to come into a supported bridge pose. So if you have a block, we're going to tuck that block under our sacrum. If you have a pillow, same thing. Tuck that pillow under there. And then just let your knees be bent, or you can extend your legs long. Tuck your shoulders underneath you. And find that sweet spot right under your sacrum so that you're getting that little bit of a back bend. And let your eyes close, let your face soften. Let your heart be open, breathing here. Nice big breaths in, filling up, letting go. Good. Take a couple more. A couple more. Keep going. Good. So we've got spaciousness, we've got contemplation, and the third suggestion Judy has for us to create this field of compassion is commitment. Our lives can be about so many trivial things. We can get swept away by the superficial and peripheral. We can bow to our ego and cave into our fear, and we can do so mindlessly, allowing our lives to slip by with very little meaning. In the act of commitment, both our focus, our mind moves toward the image we hold, and our intention come together in a tangible way. Focus and intention maintain the morphic resonance that sustains the morphogenic field. Focus and intention maintain the morphic resonance that sustains the morphogenic field. That's why she says it's not for the immature, unevolved. One of the most powerful stories that I have heard about commitment, focus, and intention come from John Deere's website a few years ago. It seems that in the 1980s, a small group of people gathered in a church basement in East Germany to engage the question, what will Germany be like 1,000 years from now? When will the Berlin Wall finally fall? At the time, that notion seemed an utter impossibility. The country was rooted in communism, in the ironclad grip of the Soviet Union, and yet these folks engaged the question, what will Germany be like 1,000 years from now when the Berlin Wall finally falls? According to the story, the group felt energized by the discussion and agreed to meet again. Word of their gathering spread, and soon church basements all over Germany were filled with those who dreamed of unity and reconciliation. Over the next few years, a grassroots movement grew. Ordinary people met, prayed, organized. They committed their minds and hearts to the dream. Then, in 1987, seemingly out of the blue, Mikhail Gorbachev announced the economic reforms known as perestroika. In Poland, the Solidarity movement pushed the Soviet Union out, and a new democracy was born. One event followed the next, and on November 9th, 1989, not very long after, much sooner than 1,000 years, the Berlin Wall came down. One more breath in. Take your deepest breath. And on your exhalation, remove your props. And lower yourself down. And then hug your knees into your chest. Good. Take a big breath in. Open up your arms out to a T and drop your knees over to the right, propping up as needed. Maybe your hips feel really nice and open here, since we practice frog or figure four, and you won't need any props or you won't want props. Just decide what you want and turn your head in the opposite direction, enjoying this stretch. Good. There's nothing like a twist to cap off a yoga practice. So enjoy that. Keep your breath moving slow and easy as I clue you in on the secret of manifesting a field of compassion. The final tenet Judy suggests for us is imagination. She said, it was only my imagination, it is perhaps more proper to say, it is always the imagination. All that is comes from divine imagination, and our capacity to envision that which does not exist and invite it to take form is one of our greatest gifts. It is our imagination that allows us to give form to the Spirit's urging. We are able to imagine a field of compassion not because the vision originates with us. The dream originates in God, and through our imaginations we see it. We see whales turn and walls crumble, and as we see it, it becomes real. Our imaginations help us maintain the vision within ourselves, calling forth our creativity and commitment in the space that we provide them. In Toni Morrison's novel, Beloved, there's a character by the name of Baby Suggs Holy. She is the grandmother of a troubled family of former slaves who live in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the decades after the Civil War. Baby Suggs Holy is a preacher of sorts, and sometimes she delivers what seems to be her own sermons on the Mount. One day, when she's about to teach again, she gathers the children and the men and women together. She asks the children to laugh. She asks the men to dance. She asks the women to cry for the living and the dead. But along the way, it all gets mixed up, and in the end, the women dance, the men cry, the children laugh, and finally all lay in an exhausted heap at Baby Suggs' feet. Then Morrison writes, in the silence that followed, Baby Suggs Holy offered up to them her great big heart. She did not tell them to clean up their lives or to go and sin no more. She did not tell them that they were blessed of the earth, its inheritance meek, or its glory bound pure. She told them that the only grace they could have was the grace they could imagine, that if they could not see it, they would not have it. As you're ready, draw your knees back into your chest and let them fall over to the other side. We'll breathe here one final time before we rest in Shavasana. She goes on, the only grace that we can have is the grace we can imagine. If we cannot see it, we cannot engage it. If we cannot engage it, we cannot manifest it. We cannot be the co-creators we are invited to be. The morphogenic field we can have is the one we can imagine. The field of compassion we envision is the one that will manifest. Of course, we remain open to surprise. No pressure that invites us to look at something we have not seen before, to pressure that invites us. But all of our capacities, all the hallmarks that make us human, our quest to know, our ability to be loved and free, prepare us to participate in the divine dream that we experience as a world of grace. Spaciousness, contemplation, commitment, and imagination. Cultivating these four stances, will help us hold and engage the energy required to manifest and maintain a field of compassion. They help us, first of all, to receive and hold love that pours itself out for us. They tell us how to be so that truth may emerge. They engage all our capacities as free subjects who are deeply graced. As each attitude becomes integrated, as we ourselves become more spacious, more contemplative, more committed to the work, and more imaginative in our approach, a field of compassion emerges and transforms us and transforms the world. As you're ready, draw your knees back into your chest. Hug them in one last time. And then I invite you to stack up your pillows and create a little tower, or second option, if you're near a wall and you don't mind putting your feet up the wall, I suggest legs up the wall for this final pose. Super restorative. Now this is feeling really good to me too. So once you get there, wherever you are, up the wall or on your pillows, just snuggle your shoulders underneath you and let your arms come out wide. And let go here. Just let your breath come naturally. And we'll begin just a progressive relaxation, starting with the crown of the head, relaxing the scalp, relaxing the forehead and the eyelids, letting go of tension around the eyes, the cheeks, the jaw, and the mouth. Relax your throat and your neck. Let the shoulders melt toward the floor. Allow your arms to be heavy and your hands to fall open. Relax your legs, your hips and pelvis, knees, calves, shins, and ankles. Soften the feet and the toes. Relax the entire body. Compassion by its nature transforms. When we allow compassion in, we are transformed. And the compassion that we become then manifests in the world. When we resonate with compassion, we are living, breathing vibrations of love energy. We contribute to the field of compassion, the new consciousness that is gracing the world. Begin to invite in a deeper breath. Make small movements, wiggling fingers and toes. Maybe turning your head from one side to the other. And of course, you're always welcome to stay just where you are for as long as you like, enjoying some more contemplation, imagination, spaciousness, and commitment. But if you're ready, use the strength of your arms to come up to a comfortable seat. We'll let our eyes close. We'll take another breath together one last time for tonight anyway. When you get there, sit up nice and tall, draw your shoulders back and down, and just take a moment to pause and notice how you feel. And when you're ready, reach your arms out. Reach them way out, like you're just gonna give the world a big old hug. And then reach them up and draw your palms together. Bring them right down through the center line of your body, from the crown of your head on down to your heart, and let your chin come to your chest. Just bowing with reverence to this amazing being that each of us is, and all of us collectively are as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your compassionate hearts. And if you have any kids that want to watch the Compassion Camp videos, they are on the YouTube channel. They'll be all 5 of them will be there this week. So until next week, my friends, namaste. The compassion in me sees and loves the compassion in you.